I'm Colby Chandler of All Things Agave. My guest is Doug Pominville, the Director of Brewery Operations at 603 Brewery in Londonderry, New Hampshire. And he is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brewhouse and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first, this message.
Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers, your wallet-friendly partner in custom printing. Whether you're a small independent or larger franchise, Stomp's got the low minimums, bulk savings, and free shipping to help you save without skimping on quality. Join the thousands of breweries already cashing in on Stomp's value-packed service and get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN. Okay, this is big news. Ali and Ecos, the two worldwide leaders in brewery software, have joined forces and are now better together. That's right. These two are putting the gloves down and working together to build a smarter, more affordable tool to help brewers of all sizes streamline production and run their businesses with confidence and without spreadsheets. If you're tired of clunky software, or no judging here, still using spreadsheets, it might be time to see what Ecos and Ali are building together. Learn more at saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com. Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com.
Okay, let's get into it. A bit about my guest today. Doug Pominville is the Director of Brewery Operations at 603 Brewery in Londonderry, New Hampshire. He started his craft beer journey in San Diego, a place where almost every brewer in the late 90s until present day have gained knowledge about the magical art of fermentation. He started working at Homebrew Mart, which was a paid internship in his eyes. During the week, Doug would sweep up the warehouse and bag hops to have the opportunity to soak in the knowledge of great brewing minds like Colby Chandler. I don't know about that guy. Doug Duffield, George Catalan, and Aaron Justice. Yeah, those guys are way better. On weekends, he would sling beers at Toronado, San Diego, which gave him even more access to some great brewing legends and some drunk people, probably. After working at Homebrew Mart for about a year, Doug had the pleasure of becoming a specialty brewer for Ballast Point at the original location, the Homebrew Mart location. A few years later, he moved with that brew house. He got really attached to it up to the Long Beach location to establish the Wild Ale program for Ballast Point. After a year of being in LA County, he and his girlfriend, now his wife, were missing San Diego, so they packed up their stuff, headed down the 5, and Doug helped some friends at Fall Brewing as a ship brewer before going to Thorn Brewing to be their head brewer for the new production facility in Barrio Logan. Then in 2021, he moved back to New Hampshire, where he grew up, this time heading production for a then 8.5-year-old New Hampshire-centric craft brewery. Doug, thank you so much for talking with me today. Welcome to Brewer to Brewer.
Hey, Colby, thank you for having me.
So, we have a lot in common and you have a lot to talk about. So, I mean, let's just get to the basics, why do you like beer? And why'd you get into the business?
I kind of fell into it. I mean, beer is a great lubrication for conversation. Always feel a little easier having a beer in my hand myself. And I am an equal opportunity drinker, so there are many other things I will drink, but I always go back to beer, being one of my favorites. Just the culinary art side of it, meeting science, it kind of plays on my backgrounds and what I kind of grew up on and educational wise. So it's a nice marriage of the two. I worked most of my life in restaurants and I've always enjoyed cooking, enjoyed managing. But when I moved to San Diego, my sister was working at Toronado, San Diego, and that's when I just realized, wow, beer is so much more than what I knew. I started trying beers I had never had before, where I had my first Rauchbier, and I was just blown away that a beer could taste like that. Then I had my aha moment. It was two IPAs that really made me fall in love with the versatility of hops. One being Alpine's Nelson IPA, that just blew me away, especially being a big, huge wine lover. And then when I had Sculpin, that one just blew the doors off. Crazy that the beer could taste like that. And just having those two different IPAs just blew my mind. Then fast forward to make a couple months later, All's Point was doing Victory at Sea Day. And then I got to try that you can take one great beer and kind of layer in all these different amazing flavors into it. And that was at that point I realized, okay, between Sculpin and Victory at Sea, I got to do whatever I can to work for this brewery.
Nice. I'm gonna. Did you go to the other Tornado before you'd been to the San Diego location?
No, not until many years later. I think probably a few years later, uh, my wife Teresa and I we went up there for her birthday, and that was my first time actually ever being in San Francisco. I actually had an amazing experience when I went to Tornado. I think having worked at the other one for so many years, I knew exactly what to do. So I just went up, ordered some beers, knew exactly what we wanted, sat down, started drinking them. Halfway through our beer, went over to the bar manager, like, oh, by the way, I brought you some gifts and gave him some beer.
Yeah.
And then he
Nice.
came over, was like, hey, that was really nice. Thank you. Usually people try to get something for free. I go, no, no, no. I used to work for Ian. And then we had a long conversation about that.
So Nelson, you had at Tornado. What year was that?
Yes. Ooh, that was probably 2011.
And do you think I'm going to put you on the spot? Do
Absolutely.
you think that was the first hazy or kind of version of a hazy, even though it wasn't called a hazy? Because
Absolutely.
for me, it was. You know what I mean?
It
It was
was the
juicy, cloudy. I mean, had all of the things.
I would say it definitely was the first hazy that I saw that was commercially available that was also very consistent. I mean, it had great colloidal stability where I've seen some other ones out here on the East Coast that maybe claim to be first, and it wasn't as consistent. Like Nelson, fantastic.
It was hard for me because I was like, why isn't this clear? Why,
Hmm.
what is he doing? But once you understood his brewing technique and everything, then you kind of got it. And then it was kind of cool to see the style grow, even though I'm not a big fan, but it was awesome. You brew a lot of hazies now, I would imagine, right? You're doing a bunch there. That's a year-round beer for
Yeah,
you as well, right?
yeah, as a New England brewery, you kind of have to have them. Our flagship IPA is a hazy, but it's not murky. Then we have a lower ABV hazy. That one is way hazier than our flagship, and a double IPA, which is also kind of on the lighter side because that one used strictly cryo, no T90s, so the haze is just minimal. Um, but
Is that
it's
the key to the Merc? What's the key to the Merc? If you want
definitely
one.
found that you want to have your salts right, load up on the chlorides, using the right yeast, have a huge Whirlpool edition and hop stand. But T90s on the hot side are going to help you so much more. You can go almost all cryo on the dry hop, but you want to make sure you have plenty of T90s in your Whirlpool. We've done a bunch of different turbidity tests on every single one of our beers. One of them we release once a year. It's coming out actually today. Is our triple IPA, Abominable Hot Man. And I have played around with from the first version being all T90 to the next year doing a lot of cryo, and we saw a drop in haze. So then we started making tweaks to that. We did that with our flagship as well, of going from all T90 to all cryo to then hot side T90, cryo dry hop, and then we've seen kind of like a more stable haze with that. With the ones that are straight T90, we have seen that they'll be very turbid. and then they will drop off a little bit and kind of plateau, where the all cryo, they're kind of just stable from the beginning, but it's at a much lower turbidity.
One of my favorite moments was sitting next to you, watching one of your beers win a medal. Yeah, I'm sure you remember what beer that was.
Oh, I know exactly which one that is. That felt like a fever dream to me that whole entire weekend. It was my 30th birthday that weekend. So I spent that Friday uh, on a beer bus going to different breweries in San Diego, ending at Toronado, and my sister shoving me into a taxi to go to the airport. How I got through security, I have no idea. But got through security, got on my plane, got to Denver, got in late Friday night, hung out with some friends, got back to a hotel room. We probably didn't even fall asleep until like 3, 4 in the morning. Um, then I think I woke up 2 hours later, took a quick shower, ran to the convention center to meet up with you and the rest of the team. And it was at that moment I realized, like, oh, I'm not hungover. I'm still drunk. I better keep drinking. And when that
Classic,
beer was
classic
announced,
move. Yeah.
it was like immediately snapped up, sober, and yeah, it just felt like a dream. I was just kind of floating for a minute. Uh, I remember hanging back in the line with you to shine like this is such a great opportunity. I can't believe I'm here. And then Jack White looking at me like, "Hey Doug, what are you doing back there? Why don't you go grab your medal?" And that felt great because for me, I was like, "No, it's a team effort." But he did that to me. It was great to do.
I had
Also,
I have a video of when they're announcing it, and I'm going gruh 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 grunion, and it wins the gold medal, and we all erupt. It was super awesome. And then even before that, that came from a in-house Ballast Point employee homebrew contest, right?
hmm yep.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first employee only homebrew competitions. We were looking for an American Pale Ale. Um, and shoot, I think I just got real lucky.
No, I ran the contest, and I didn't judge the beer, but I went through and tasted all the beers before, I gave it to the judges, and I went to the CEO at the time, and I'm like, this is the beer that's going to win. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. And then and then your beer won. I was like, see, I told you. It was a great beer. So there was no luck involved in that at all.
And it
Um,
was a couple new hops that came out at the time too. It's using Calypso and Mosaic, and that goes back to bagging hops in a warehouse. Is I got to try these new hops that came out, and I remember just smelling those, going like, "Whoa, these are fantastic! I need to definitely use these in a beer."
So talking about, Grunion and then the hazies on the East Coast, like what since you learned kind of how to brew out here on the West Coast, what have you brought back? What kind of vibes have you brought back to the East
Hmm.
Coast?
I have brought a lot of San Diego vibes to New Hampshire, New England area. It's funny you were asking about the hazy IPAs, and yes, we do a few, but after 5 years, we are now known for our West Coast IPAs, and people seek us out for that. So we'll actually do more clear beer West Coast out in New Hampshire than we do as far as the hazies, and that makes me very happy. Be able to bring those beers that I fell in love with and I continue to want to drink. And right now, I'm actually sipping on a West Coast IPA that we did collab with the brewery in Kingsborough, Massachusetts, and very fond of that. Besides that, I always love the collaborative nature of San Diego. Um, Always helping each other out, being a community, brewing together. Rising tide raises all ships. As well as one of my favorite festivals that was out there is Collabapalooza. So love that collaborative nature. So the very first year here in New Hampshire was our ninth anniversary, and we couldn't do a party because 2021, still COVID, no gatherings. So my idea was, hey, let's just brew a 9% double IPA and just do a big collab with some New Hampshire breweries. Like, oh, that's weird. We've never done that before. but then it turned into everyone's favorite day. It was a day way for all of the production people from different breweries to get together, share war stories, share their liquid, and just remember why we got into the industry and have a fun day. So thought it was a one-time thing. Next year, like, you're doing that again, right? I go, oh, sure. And since then, it has been every year. Every brewery that has participated immediately says yes to do it again. So we try to grow it every year. I think we had about 24 New Hampshire breweries participating this last year for our 13th anniversary. I'll see if I can get it up to 30 next year for 14. But I just love that that was some nature I brought from San Diego. It's like fun vibes, collaborative, and bring it over here.
Collaborations are so fun for the brewers, and there's reasons to do it. Like you're saying, you get to learn from each other. You just kind of get to hang out with friends. Why, who asked you to repeat it? Who at the brewery came back up and said, "Are we going to do this again next year?"
The ones who were hesitant at first, the ownership team, because they've maybe done like minimal collabs before, sales, marketing, pretty much everyone in the management role was like, no, that was a really fun day. It was great vibes. We got to do that again.
Yeah, my question here is literally how important is collaborating with other breweries and why is it so hard for marketing and sales?
uh,
Because I
I
feel like
think
that's
there's a
always kind of the hard part of it, It's just like, why are we doing this? Who's, like the whole up collaborating, or down collaborating. You don't down collaborate, you only up collaborate. Those kind of attitudes are just drive me crazy. I just want to punch myself in the face.
it's it's just a mixed bag. I mean, it's almost like parents setting up a play date. When maybe another department sets it up, the brewers are kind of just standing staring at each other like, I don't know you. But then eventually halfway through the brew, they're like, all right, you're my new best friend. Um, and I know the brewers are always like, we just want to hang out with our friends and make great beer. But you always have to think of like, okay, well, how does this help the brand? Do our distributors even want to take this product? Or we have to sell this in-house only? So as I've gone from just being a shift brewer to a head brewer to now a Dobo, it's like I have to think of all the other layers. And I know sometimes I have to pick and choose as well, even if it fits in our busy production schedule. Because I want to collaborate with everyone, but sometimes like, okay, well, I love those guys, but maybe their products aren't quite where we want them at, or maybe the branding is a little too risky. Are they cool with not doing that on this label? I know there's a lot of layers, and I don't know. Maybe when they hear this, they'll look at it in a different light.
You have a a favorite beer event that you did here in San Diego that you'd like to maybe bring to the East Coast, Northeast?
My absolute favorite event besides Collabapalooza that I mentioned is Ruby's. Um, that fest has always been tugging on my heartstrings as having family members who are really close to me being affected by breast cancer. To have a festival that is dedicated to raising money for that is just fantastic. And having all the fun pink beers that all the brewers get to come up with and different ways of making a beer pink. It's just the funnest event. It's just all good vibes all around. It's so fun. I know it's has been to San Diego for a while and it's been in different areas. I think also it helps knowing that the people who started Brewbies and who run it are just amazing people, friends of mine. I absolutely have Mel from when we worked together at Tornado, and then you know Bagby and Beat Sport and everything else he's done. Like they were just doing great things, and that just shows that it can go beyond beer and taking care of the community and other people. That's why I love that one. Other than that, like I said, Collabapalooza, love that one.
So today in San Diego, it's 71 degrees. London, it's 43 degrees there.
That's really warm. It was like 10 degrees the other day.
So I'm just assuming you wear more flannel now.
Well, I've always worn plenty of flannel.
Well, not
Um,
because you had to.
Not because I was a hipster. It's just growing up in New Hampshire, you kind of want to keep warm. And with the brewer beard and the flannel, it all just goes together. But I'm literally wearing right now a yellow and black flannel that's branded 603.
There you go. Did you wear a flannel when you accepted your award for Brewer of the Year in New Hampshire?
I didn't. I wore a red velvet jacket because I was told to be a little bit nicer. So I did like business casual kind of. Those jeans with nice scally cap and red blazer that was red velvet. And then other people were wearing tuxedos like it was prom, and I was kind of blown away because it was also restaurant awards too. And I was like, oh, all right.
All right. Um, what did that mean to you? Was that cool? I mean, you weren't got it through the ranks pretty quick to be
Yeah,
voted.
that was really awesome. It was unexpected, the nomination. Talking to CJ, who runs the New Hampshire Brewers Association, I was like, oh, did just our market? He's like, no, you got multiple nominations. So it's like before you could even be in the voting pool, and I go, oh, well, that's great. And then the two people I was up against are phenomenal brewers. So to be in the same pool with them was great. In the end, winning that, it was fantastic. It felt like a huge achievement, mainly on my team because they're a very dedicated team. So I'm like, yeah, sure, we make great products, but I'm not there on the brew deck every day. I'm not in the cellar. I'm not on the packaging line. And how dedicated they are to what we're making just made my job easier. And it felt like a team award. But it felt really great. And now I'm like, shoot, it's all downhill from here now. Where do I go?
You mentioned sweeping floors when you first started at Home Brew Mart. What what did starting kind of at the bottom level, you were a beer drinker and then you decided to work at Home Brew Mart because of possibly Sculpin and Victory at Sea. What how how did that build your foundation of what you're doing now?
Uh, I'd say some of it was work ethic, attention to detail, not being afraid to get my hands dirty and pretty much start from square one and work our way up. Like I said, I kind of fell into it. I did. First time home brewing was with my father when I was maybe like 10 years old, and we made every mistake possible. Boil over, steeping grains, ripping open. Um, Everything went bad. But then at the end, it was a brown ale that was fairly coldly fermented because it was in a basement in New Hampshire. It was like, of course, the best brown ale I'd ever had. Once it was done, he was the one time he's like, "Yeah, sure, have this little bit of sip of beer and try it out." And then after, it's like, "Oh, that's not bad, but can we make root beer now?" But that was my first experience, and I remember having a lot of fun with it. Then, while working at Toronado, bar manager there, Eric Shelley, he was homebrewing a lot, and he's like, "You should come over." So we homebrewed together. Fell in love with it right away, and wanted to do more of it. So I immediately jumped into buying my own kit and brewing probably almost every week if I possibly could. And then when I said mentioned trying Sculpin, trying Victor C, I'm like, oh, I got to work at this brewery, and they have the homebrew shop attached to them, so this is perfect. So I went in, told George, I want a job. I will do whatever. I don't care what you pay me. And the only thing is I need to have weekends off. He's like, ooh, that's a big deal breaker. Like, well, I need to still make money. So I'm going to work at Toronado on Saturday and Sundays bartending. So I'll be here Monday through Friday. And I think for like 9 months straight, I worked without a day off just to basically learn as much you can. Like I said, learn as a paid internship. Like, sure, I could have gone to brewing school, got some knowledge, whatever, but there was already people working at this location that I respected and loved what they were doing. So I could just sit there and listen to them talk, absorb all the knowledge. I mean, the manager at the time, Larry Manaskanian, he could definitely talk. And I would use that opportunity to ask him a question about a beer and let him tell me every piece of information he knew about that. Um, Also, then finding out that, the beers that I was really stoked about came from Colby. I'm like, oh, so I could maybe work with this guy and learn as much as I can from him. Finding out after that you also had a similar background of working in restaurants, and culinary made it even that much easier that we had some parallels and could kind of do that with each other. Um, so I wasn't afraid. Yeah, like I said, sweep up, do whatever you have to do to kind of show like I'm willing to do this. And then when you find out that brewing is all cleaning anyways, it kind of was an easy transition.
Nice. Feel like we got a good base on where you've come from, so maybe we'll get a little bit more technical. I think we're going to take a short break for this message and then come right back for more of this conversation with Doug Pominville, the Director of Brewery Operations at 603 Brewery in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com. Here's a money-saving tip from StompStickers.com. They're version discounts. Ordering different beer labels in the same size, shape, and material? Just add everything to your cart and you'll automatically get a discount. Get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN. Have you spent countless hours juggling multiple spreadsheets, handwritten notes, and disconnected systems? In this business, time really is money. That's why Ali and Ecos have teamed up to bring you the most powerful craft beverage management platforms in the industry. Whether you're a craft brewery, distillery, cidery, winery, or even cannabis beverage operation, producers like you are saving up to 10 hours a week so they can focus on increasing sales. Stop wasting your time in endless cells and rows and start catching up. Learn how you can save time and money at saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com.
All right, welcome back, Doug. Let's get into what you're making at 603 and what the future kind of looks like and what you think you're going to be excited about playing with in the future. So, first question is we've had some texts back and forth about chilies and peppers in beers, and I know you're continuing to kind of add those ingredients to beers. I just kind of want to get your opinion now that you've got to work with them for many years and people's reactions and kind of what that trail is leading you to.
Well, as much as I loved brewing in San Diego, when it's always 70 and sunny, there's only so many beers you might want to drink. So the best part about moving to the East Coast is having seasons and being able to actually do some beers on a large scale that you don't expect people to want to drink that much of because the weather's changed. Um, one of them being a Bamberg style Marzen that has grown from a little pilot batch to now we're doing bigger batches of it, and I'm stoked on that we're canning it. But I wanted to add some chilies that you were kind of mentioning. So I remember back work with you is each beer had its own chili and trying to complement the flavors that are already there. And I would do the same thing with anything else I'm adding to a beer adjuncting is you want to complement what's already there. Um, so for that particular one, I was talking to you about maybe using some guajillo or cascabel because I want something to not be overly spicy, but nice flavor to complement all of those dark malts, the biscuitiness and the smoke of the beer. Then I remember going back to like why we chose habaneros and sculpin because of the nice citrusiness, complementing the already citrus notes of the beer. So I like to also translate that to any of the other things we do. With my head brewer, talk to him about that too, especially if he's creating something new. It's like, okay, well, remember that you have your four ingredients to begin with of how are you going to do your water profile? What yeast are you selecting? Your hops, your malts, you layer in flavors to set a foundation for what you're going for instead of just like, okay, I have this beer, I messed up. What do I add to it? It's always nice if that was your plan ahead of time to add flavors into it. Um, and I always like to do that this fifth ingredient that leans heavily on my culinary background of working in kitchens for many years and still my love of food. I think I'm glad that I never went down that final route of staying in kitchens so that I can still love making food at home and doing that for my family. Um, but I still do love doing it to beer as well. It's like I love to make the beer flavored beer, but also, hey, let's go make something a little bit off. Something we do every year for Thanksgiving. We have our Imperial Stout that we age in barrels for at least 18 months. It's named after our cat executive officer, the Mitts. And we always try to do at least one a straight bourbon, and then we'll do some adjunct versions. So it's always fun to play around with those. And people give me ideas, but then have to remind them, like, hey, do you think that will go well with a stout? And just kind of like compliment the beer there.
Are you still experimenting with putting new ingredients in casks as a kind of a beginner way to get a idea of what the flavors are going to do and how they blend and how much you're actually using?
I'm not doing as much cask. We do maybe a handful a year. I've pushed my head brewer towards doing that. But we also have a one barrel pilot system. So that also makes it easy to play around on that end because we're looking at usually after they've brewed that, maybe half barrel and a couple logs. If they go too heavy on the dry hop, maybe we have a half barrel. That's a good way for them to kind of try those things out. So I think we have a on the schedule right now a saffron saison. No, I'm sorry, sassafras saison coming out. We have a spruce tip IPA somebody wants, and also they want another chili IPA coming out. That's a good way for them to experiment on the small scale.
So it's funny, I have another question here that's relatable. What is a beer style that you want to brew more of, and why is it smoke beers? That seems about right. So you do the smoke marts,
It
and now
does.
it sounds like
Yep.
for most of the year. Do you do other smoke beers?
Uh, we have in the past. We've done a smoked kettle sour with some peaches and vanilla that came out fantastic. Um, that the only one we've really have done is that Bamberg Marzen. We've also have done like a tried to do someone wanted to do a bacon inspired beer. So I was like, yeah, we're not putting meat in the beer. So we added a little bit of cherrywood smoked malt. We added some maple to it to try to like mimic some flavors that you might get a bacon, and that was in a brown ale. I want to do more, and I'm hoping that the success of us doing a bigger batch of the Bamberg Martin will allow us to do more than just small one little barrel batches. But I'm all about them. That was one of the ones I can't remember. I think it was first one was actually Smokescreen, and then followed by like Shangri-La, and I was just like, whoa, 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 give me the smoke.
Well, yeah, coming from a cooking and the culinary side, I think that's why I kind of like it so much. Just adds a depth and an unctuousness to the beers that you just don't normally get. And then kind of leads into my next question. What is an ingredient that you would like to learn more about, and why is it agave?
I've heard a few things from you about agave, and it is very interesting. I would love to work with it. I've worked with a little bit on a very small scale, but it's already been processed. So I'm just tossing it in either the whirlpool or early in the boil. Like we have a margarita goza that we ferment with agave and age on some tequila soaked oak chips, and that's about as far as I've used agave. Other ingredients besides that, ooh, um, we've been heavily getting into crafted cocktails. So actually getting away from beer, just trying other ingredients and trying a lot of different botanicals and herbs, different layers going into gin, or even trying to do our own amaro. Those have been really interesting to me. So as I'm gaining the knowledge for that, I'm like, okay, now how can I put some of these really fun botanicals into a beer to make them taste like something else?
I bet it's been a great learning experience getting into that craft cocktail and cans RTD space.
It has been. I mean, let's be honest, the craft beer industry is not doing as great as it has in past decades. There is a dip, there is a decline. So I've been trying to diversify our portfolio as much as possible. Um, so we have an extensive hard seltzer program. I've got some RTDs, which are some vodka iced teas we just launched early in the year, vodka lemonades, and then the crafted cocktails are fantastic. Of sticking right now with some just the whites right now, some rum, vodka, and gin, and eventually we're working towards doing an agave spirit. And maybe in a few years we'll have our whiskey or bourbons ready to kind of play with those. Uh, but it's really fun to try different things with those and get more of a immediate satisfaction where, beer, brewing this in a month, I'll see maybe what I can change. Where these I can kind of manipulate them on the fly, try different R&D, and then see how easily it scales up. And we're still working out the kinks on that too. Different packaging methods. We got a nitrogen doser this past year for our vodka iced teas to make sure that they were flat. So, but hey, while you have it, might as well utilize it. So we've been also doing some nitro tiki cocktails and some fun stuff with that of seeing what we can do to enhance that experience. Yeah.
How do you go about sourcing the ingredients for everything? Do you have like a mantra or like a mission statement or, that something that everybody kind of is behind as far as like the quality of the ingredients and how it's made and what are the parameters for it to even be thought of and put out?
First, we don't want to use anything artificial. We really don't want anything fake. We want to try to use natural ingredients. Um, Also, in the back of my mind is always burning on production. So here I can make this fantastic batch that's maybe 1 barrel or even 7 barrels. But can we scale this up to do large production as that's what our facility is? So I always, as I'm sourcing materials, make sure that I can get this in bulk. It's not like, oh, even when we were doing our tea, hey, there's this local tea shop that you could use. I go, but can they send me hundreds of pounds of this tea? Like, oh no. So that's also a thing. I'm like, okay, can I find a sustainable product that doesn't have anything added to it, that is readily available, that I can buy in bulk? Can I negotiate some bulk pricing with them before I do it? And that was one of the things when we were creating the tea. We tried using a concentrate at first, going down that road, and I was like, oh, this is the easiest thing, and I wasn't super happy with it. And then when we asked them for the safety data sheets and everything else for TTB, we noticed that there was some ingredients in there that wasn't disclosed initially. So we're like, oh yeah, let's not do this. We scrapped that recipe. And then I was under the gun to create a whole new product within a couple of weeks before we launched it. And that's when I went back to like, okay, this is going to be a harder process for production. It'll be a better end result. And that's when we decided like we're going to use just straight loose leaf tea, real lemon juice, real cane sugar, and our vodka, nothing else. So the team actually cold brews the tea and does everything. A little bit more of a pain in the ass on their side, but the end result, it's fantastic. Compliments are like, wow, this tastes like real tea. This doesn't taste artificial at all. They go, because it's just simple ingredients, just tea, lemon, vodka, and sugar.
That usually keeps things consistent too. The simpler the recipe and the more quality the ingredients are, that's another chef kind of theory as well, I think. Is that what makes your hard seltzer so good? Is it
I think
the
it is. It's
because you
I
guys
mean,
are
when I first
crushing
got
it, you guys are crushing it on sales with hard seltzer, right?
Yeah, we're the number one in the state of New Hampshire. We are in the top 20 for chain accounts nationwide, and that is only distributing like 95% of it in New Hampshire, with like maybe 5% going into Massachusetts. So it's doing fantastic. When I
What are
was
the
hired, I'm sorry, what's that?
what were the flavors that you're doing?
So originally they had three. Now we're up to a bunch in those. So I remember they originally talked like, "Hey, you okay with doing seltzer?" And I was like, yeah, I'm outside with anything. We'll make anything for people to drink what they want. And as long as we can then make the beers that we want to drink, sounds great. So ours is actually a vodka soda base. It says on label, we use green neutral spirits. And I think that actually makes it a little bit easier. Also, just a tiny bit of addition of sugar. There's about 1 gram of sugar per 12 ounces. So that tiny, tiny, tiny bit of sweetness also helps round it out. Then obviously we need to flavor these. So it's now finding the right natural flavorings. Nothing extract. Want to make sure that they're great. Using different suppliers, vendors. So our original flagship 9 pack has black cherry pomegranate, tangerine, and lemon lime. But since then, we have introduced, since I've got there, 2 other seasonal 9 packs. Our seasonal current one right now is Honeycrisp apple, blueberry lemon, and a cranberry orange. And those were able because one year I just said, hey, we need to release a new seltzer every single month in the beer hall to get some feedback. And they're like, this is going to be a pain. I go, I know, but we got to do it. So that year we released 12 new seltzers, one every month. Went back, got that data, see what people were stoked on, and then started using that to build some new variety packs.
So with the success of it, you think you're gonna expand out more? Will the beer kind of draft the seltzer a little bit into other states that are bordering you or around you?
And that's what we're in the process of doing. We're currently in Massachusetts and working on expansion. We're looking into another New England states, it's like Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, and we're even possibly looking outside of New England area, like maybe going down to Florida. Who knows if Southern California is interested? We always want to lead with beer because that's where our passion is, but we want to also be able to present other things in our portfolio. So besides, like, okay, yes, we have beer, and our flagship is an amber ale. We're not even going to push our IPA on you. Like, hey, we got an amber ale. We do have an IPA. We also have a house lager. But besides that, we have the seltzer that has been crushing all of the big dogs in our state because it tastes great. It's consistent. The value is there. It's a unique package format. We actually do a 9 pack of 16-ounce cans. So it is the same exact volume as a 12-ounce 12 pack. But for our standpoint, we're able to keep costs down by shaving out 3 cans, 3 lids, 3 labels, less loss on bigger cans. So we can kind of shave the price down for consumers. It's a nice cube shape. It fits nicely on the shelf. So that also makes it stand out as a unique package. Um, but then we also have a hop water that we came out with a few years ago. While my wife was pregnant, R&D'd that, and it's been great organic growth. Then we got the RTDs, and we also have the craft cocktail. So we're going to the state. Yes, we want to lead with beer, but then we got to mention that the seltzer, how that's doing, and all the other products we have available to them as well.
Can you explain to me how the alcohols are being made, where they're being made, how that's coming about for the craft cocktails and things and neutral spirits, and how is that dynamic set up? Because it's pretty much impossible to do here sometimes in
Oh yeah.
California.
So in our state, we initially had a rectifier's license. So that way we can actually have bulk alcohol shipped to us and then we can repackage it. Since then, we have now have a full distiller's license that once we got a still and everything else. But on the large scale, we are getting totes of grain neutral spirits that we've tried a bunch of different ones out and are using that for our vodka bases. We wanted to make sure it was kind of like, hey, we don't have the equipment to make it what we want, but we can kind of tell you what we want, have that contracted for us and sent to us. And it was kind of a great way to be able to get started and still continuing it right now. But there's always down the road, we're talking about other facilities and maybe building our own still in there, much larger scale to be able to do big batches and be consistent with it. But we're basically just working on the smaller alcohols, small batch stuff in-house. But for the larger scale, for consistency and to be able to do the volume that we're at, we are getting that contract distilled for us.
So what aren't you doing?
We like to actually call ourselves wizards, and we don't call it brewing, we call it conjuring. So we just take all of these magical ingredients and mix them into the kettle and kind of um, It also does help with turnaround though too. We can have a batch kind of pumped out in less than a week if we need to, if there's a need with distributors. So we're kind of just blending stuff together, carbonating and packaging it as far as that side.
Well, it sounds like a busy guy, especially with the family at home. Um, Anything you want to talk about? Anything that we missed?
Um,
That's
let's see.
anything you
Let's
want to ask
see.
me? Any
Yeah,
any
so
comments on the industry and where do you think it's going? I mean, with you guys expanding so much and doing all the different products, I feel like that's kind of the new norm is you just can't be a brewery in a warehouse in a
no.
random business area of town anymore. Like the destination location needs more than just beer. Needs something to do there, where it's food or all the different products like you're making, so that you can actually get a little bit of a portfolio going almost.
Yeah, having a diverse portfolio definitely helps. Having food. I mean, at our location, we have a scratch kitchen. Chefs are amazing. They make everything by hand. The only thing they don't do is the pizza dough, which we have contracted from someone else local, but they use our beer in it when they're making the pizza dough to still kind of tie the two together. And so having great food is going to be fantastic. Bring people in. You want them to stay, have some food so they can drink a few more of your products. We also have a great reputation for throwing some pretty epic parties. So in February, I want to say it's the 8th, the day before the Super Bowl, we have this big party plan that's called Fire on Main, where we have big, huge bonfires going, which is easy to do in an area where you have a lot of snow and not a drought. Um, and last year was the first year we did that, and thousands of people showed up for this. We don't do ticket events when we throw our parties. It's just open, and I think that's what draws people in. Going back to being collaborative, we have a bunch of food trucks show up too, besides having our own local vendors that are artists. We have usually games going on, so fun stuff like that happens. Same with our anniversary party in June, 603 Day, and then our Fall Fest in October. And those always draw anywhere from 3 to 5,000 people will come roll through, and it's usually a great event. So trying to also build in the community is fantastic. Um, Having that food option is definitely great. And yeah, as much as like I said, love beer, want to lead with that, you have to diversify your portfolio so that kind of have something for everyone. And that way you can kind of weather the storm when beer bounces back. I know it will bounce back. Everything is usually a pendulum swing, but right now beer is kind of on the downtick. So being able to do other products definitely will help you weather the storm.
I totally agree. I feel like it's cyclical. We're kind of in the bottom of the circle right now. We're in the people are learning about flavors again. I feel like we're kind of at the lowest common denominator as far as flavor wise and things like that. So it's good that you're fighting the battle and prepared to, I mean, I don't want to talk about Ballast Point too much, but Ballast Point was always good at having something for everybody. You mentioned that earlier, and
Hmm.
I feel like you're kind of following that same mantra a little bit.
Absolutely.
What else?
I do have some questions for you. Uh, when are you going to come out to the East Coast? So maybe we can brew something with agave or even a cocktail.
Or
And if
smoked
you come
agave?
out in the, if you come out, ooh, that sounds fantastic. And if you come out in the winter, uh, we have season passes to a ski mountain, and I have extra passes because we do a beer for a local ski mountain, Waterville Valley. So there's now two reasons for you to come out.
Well, that's not really a question. That's an invitation. So yes, I got to figure that out somehow. You've been inviting me for a while, so thank you for that.
Almost
Here, I'll
5 years,
I'll
yeah.
go since we'll kind of circle back around to the culinary side. Since you've been there, what if you could do like a three-course beer dinner with the beers that you've made over the past few years? What would be your three beer course menu of like maybe just favorites, you don't have to think about it too much, but just the ones that kind of stick out the most. And if you could put all three of those in the same experience.
Ooh, that is a really good question and a tough one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I saved it till the
we
end.
And I've always loved that you and I have done many beer dinners and brunches over the years together, enjoying that. Hmm. There was when we did a beer dinner that I loved the pairing. I had mentioned earlier about doing a smoked peach beer. That was a collaboration with another brewery, so that goes back to that too part. Abel Ebenezer out of Merrimack, New Hampshire. We did a smoked sour with peaches and vanilla, and had that in our dinner that we compared with a gazpacho, and it was just fantastic of how well that played together. They had just a tiny bit of like paprika they put into the gazpacho that kind of really went nicely with the maple smoked malts that we had used in the beer. Um, I think I always love doing the pairings where people are not expecting them to go well together. Um, Many times I've been at some place and they're like, "Oh, you always want to do something sweet for dessert." And I don't want to always pair sweet with sweet and be too cloying. So we had a another sour that was a raspberry and hibiscus. I'm sorry, no, sorry, no, it wasn't. Hibiscus and grapefruit. It was a hibiscus and grapefruit Berliner Weiss that I paired with a very decadent chocolate cake with I think it was a turtle too with caramel and some walnuts and stuff. And that grapefruit complemented it so well, and it was cutting through the sweetness, and it just wasn't cloying. And a lot of people came up like, I didn't think those two would go well together, and it went so nicely. um, oof. I think I'm always a sucker for West Coast IPAs, and as a nod to where I started brewing, I try to sneak in San Diego stuff. Um, we have one right now called Fading Sun, San Diego style IPA, but there's one we're bringing back, and it's Sunset Cliffs, and that one because I love that area. Um, Wife and I spent a lot of time there, came real close proposing to her there, and then I realized, oh no, that's just what everyone else does. So instead, I proposed to her at a homebrew shop. Um, that one, that one with any Mexican food. I absolutely love Mexican food, the depth of flavor and just using fresh ingredients. So, of course, you want to say fish tacos, but literally just give me some carnitas and a West Coast IPA, and I will be so happy. Um,
Well, the fun thing about doing pepper beer is I feel it adds kind of a fourth dimension to pairing, where you were
mhm.
talking about a contrast pairing, with the acid on sweet, or, something that the acid cuts through the fat, or it complements, they have similar flavors like sweet on sweet. But I always laugh that when you put peppers in beer, it's almost a condiment pairing where you can use the beer as
Yeah,
a condiment, especially in
that's a
like
great, yeah.
or something like that. It's such a fun way to kind of wake adults up and give them something that they haven't really had before.
Mhm.
Well, I think
Well,
that was an amazing conversation. I have to thank you so much for taking the busy time out of your father duties and well, I guess you're also bothering people at the brewery too, so you got many kids.
yeah, they translatable skills.
Definitely say hi to Teresa and Cal for me, and I
Mhm.
really appreciated spending some time with you today.
Okay. You make sure you give Winnie a big hug for me.
I will do that. She's laying right here next to me. She's my
Uh,
my interview partner, my dog interview partner. She's amazing. So, um, Doug will actually be back on the next episode of the show, and he'll be the host, having a conversation with a brewer of his choosing. That will be on air in 2 weeks, so make sure you tune in for that. A reminder, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. To support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. I am Colby Chandler of All Things Agave. Thank you for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast. Cheers.
Stompstickers.com is brewed for budget conscious brewers. From automatic version discounts to loyalty program that earns you points across all of their product lines, every order works harder for your bottom line. Want even more ways to save? Sign up for their emails and get regular coupon codes delivered straight to your inbox. Try stompstickers.com today and save 15% with code FIRSTRUN. Golden honey, sweetbread, cereal grains, slightly nutty with subtle flavors and aromas of hay. Rahr North Star Pils is a beautiful base malt for any beer style, but it shines particularly bright in classic lagers like Rev Pils from Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. North Star Pils also plays a role in award-winning West Coast Pilsners and Imperial IPAs for Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. RahrBSG has the goods. Learn more at RahrBSG.com. This episode was proudly brought to you by Ali and Ecos. Better together, our craft beverage software has saved hundreds of producers time and money. Dump the spreadsheets and make the switch in 2026. Discover what it feels like to run your beverage business with less broken formulas and more peace of mind. Visit saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com to start your better brewery journey today.